Oh my gosh. Technical issues. We're live. I
did
think
it.
we're live, right, Korey?
We're live.
We're live. What's up, everybody? All right, I've got a script today, guys. If you're in the audience, first of all, say something. Make us famous on YouTube. That's not in the script. But anyway, what's up, everybody? Okay, anyway.
Right out of the gate.
Welcome to the morning show, a conversation with friends about AOS and top-notch tabletop strategy. Do you guys like that? Made that up. We're your hosts, Miles. That's where you guys say something.
Oh no.
Korey.
Cam.
There you go. And we got special guest coming at you live today, VIP guest, all-around class act gent, Jeremy Williams.
Hello.
I wrote down like 36-time ITC winner.
36. Yeah, it works. Yeah.
That's definitely an accurate number.
Definitely accurate. All of the accurate.
We haven't sent the trophy yet, so I can just make up whatever I want at this point.
Yeah. But yeah, if you're in the comments before we kind of get all in it, just type away like QWERTY on your keyboard and write it in so that we can get the claim to fame. So anyway, so yeah, today, Korey, you've got kind of a lineup of what we're doing.
Yes, today we are talking about several items. We're going to talk with Jeremy about what it takes to be Age of Sigmar ITC Hobby Track Champion, his adventure this weekend down to Texas for the Lonestar GT, and if I will ever finish building my army, which I feel like I'm very slow and it's getting frustrating because there's a lot of spikes. I don't like it. So yeah, I guess to kick things off, Jeremy, let's do a brief intro for yourself. Tell us, obviously they already know your name, maybe what your favorite faction to play is, your least favorite faction to play against, and your favorite breakfast.
Ooh, it won't be the favorite breakfast, but I'm going to last question first.
Yeah, any order of your choice.
I had some oatmeal just now, and I didn't have anything to put in it, so I crushed up a chocolate chip cookie and put in it.
Okay.
Don't recommend. Not great. So
it didn't turn out well.
Yeah, no, like melted chocolate and oatmeal isn't really good. So don't do that. I've played some Death. They're fun. Played some Soulblight. I mostly played Seraphon last year. That was like my COVID project. And that was a blast. I have learned that my play style is definitely more not Seraphon, I think. So I'm currently building, or I currently have a Stormcast army. It's trying to be very fast and speedy. And that's kind of what I've played historically in all of my wargaming career. So like, oh yeah, that makes sense if that's what I like. So hopefully the new Seraphon book, I can just exploit that some more and play with fast stuff.
And the little skink raptors, hopefully they're super good and super fast.
Yeah, and just as derpy looking.
Right, yeah, for sure. You should. I'm surprised you're not playing like a full Slaanesh chariot build. If you like,
don't tempt me. It's a good time. That sounds amazing.
Maybe that would be your project for Summer Slaughter.
The next one, yeah. I don't know why you haven't built the Slaves of Darkness chariot list yet. So
Jeremy, that's how Slaanesh works. They tempt you with a good time.
I know. So maybe that is going to be it. Or just go with the full Stormcast chariot list that
I just like Varangard better, obviously, for obvious reasons, but I hate the way the chariot riders look, and that just kills the entire kit for me. Same thing with the War Shrine. I hate that model. Luckily it's bad now, so well, it's not bad, it's hard to find a use for it.
Yeah. But
Jeremy,
what's up?
Are you down? You're not down in Texas yet.
No, right? I'm leaving in like 4 hours today.
Okay, cool. Yeah. I was just curious. I thought for you'd stayed the extra day or whatever. Can I add, I'm gonna intercede here. Did you go after this tournament because of the ITC points, or like, because I remember you popped into the chat at one day and you were like, I'm headed down south to Lone Star, and everyone, I was like, well, what? Because I think we had just come off LVO, and we were like, what's going on?
Yeah, no. This was my brother lives in Texas in the Fort Worth area, so this was like I owe him a trip, and I was happened to be like, oh yeah, so when can I go? That would make sense to be greedy and go for a tournament reason or hobby reason.
I mean, we want to. I think I want to check out Lonestar someday, but I guess I just wasn't it hadn't been on my radar yet until you had brought it up or whatever.
Yeah, no, I was tracking it last year because I think Roger in the club went last year because he was on the team ITC rankings. I was like, oh, what is this thing? And then I knew of the Texas Masters circuit, and they have this kind of insulated, I don't know, environment of their own making down there. I think most of them just play in their Texas Masters events. Besides the Worlds team and stuff, they don't really travel a lot, I feel like.
Texas is awesome. I feel like every weekend they have a GT they can just choose in Texas. It's insane. The size and strength of that community. We would love for them to travel a little bit more, but that's
I mean, I don't blame them when they just drive 3 or 4 hours and have
exactly
100+ person event. So,
yeah, definitely envious of that, but we'll
I think
hopefully
there
get there.
were ranking at what a 30-person GT is that we did up here. So that's pretty
there's
wild.
been a lot of recent growth up here too, in the New York area. I was talking with Mike Mullis. He's the TO of Realm Gate Rampage, which we lovingly call the Mike Mullis Rampage, but he's up to 50 players for his event with a wait list, and he was saying a big portion of those players are coming from this brand new area of New York, down by Binghamton, for anyone that's familiar with New York.
That's fine.
Yeah, I think it's an ice cream flavor. They definitely make ice cream, right? So that's cool. He said there's 12 or so from that. So that's an entire new community within 3-4 hours of us. I think. I could be wrong. New York's a fucking massive state. I have no clue where anything is in New York. So,
but that's also going to feed into Golden Sprue, Du Bois, Everwinter, all that
hopefully.
Stuff. So, that's cool.
So I guess changing gears a little bit. So obviously you won or maybe not obviously for some of our viewers, Jeremy won the ITC Hobby Track last year. If we were more advanced and prepared, we would splash some photos up of his army, but hey, we're not there yet. This is only episode 6. Give us a break. But yeah, so Jeremy, kind of, I guess, talk us through what was it like to kind of go for that goal, and what were some things that you found that helped you reach that goal, and maybe what are some challenges you faced as well?
Well, it didn't start out as wanting to do that or shoot for that. It started out with just going for best painted at events, at individual events, and the army evolved throughout the entire process too. So the first form of the army was a third of what the final display board and army appearance was, and then at each event it just kind of changed, and then eventually I landed on the final product for most of the big GTs, the end of 2022. And that was kind of cool, I've done I've hit 3 winning events, and I was well, might as well go for 2 more because just to max it out. That's my chariot Cam put up for this weekend.
Nice. Is
that
a Jared?
Yeah, it was kind of this evolution. I filled out my calendar with the events I wanted to go to, and it was cool. I actually have a shot at getting this now. And then the funny horse race with ITC is oh crap, I can't go to Vegas, so I hope the other people are the second, third place aren't going because they could pass me.
Yeah. But, yeah, that's the interesting part, obviously, about Vegas. Is you could even end up not placing super high, but because of the size of the event, they could still contribute massive amounts of points to someone's score.
Yeah.
But it was awesome that you ended up, even though you weren't. That's kind of a big flex. So I love that. You're oh, I don't need to go to this to win.
Yeah, I mean, that was honestly. It also came down to when I saw that Everwinter is bumping up in from a 60-person event to 100+. it was like, oh, all right, well, I'm going to get a bunch more. Like you could get a bunch more points for the larger events. So like it was within reach. Because the people that were below me in second and third were West Coast people. So I wasn't going to beat them head to head at an event. And the West Coast events were kind of bigger. So they were just getting more points for, I guess, like for not getting first, like you said.
Yeah.
So had to kind of just make sure I went for gold. A little bit was also like I was trying to troll on some East Coast painters too. Be like, all right, I'm going to show up and just kind of maybe some people have won a bunch of years in a row. I'm like, I'm going to try and take them down.
Marty. No,
yeah.
We love Marty.
Yeah.
I recently found out what Marty does for real work, and it's fascinating. He's like a fraud detective for like, I'm not sure if it's like a bank or like part of the government, but yeah, he's like, yeah, no, like I'm looking for fuckers that are like hiding millions and billions of dollars and circumventing sanctions. Like, oh
that's
shit,
awesome.
that's pretty intense.
It's like a superhero thing.
Yeah. I hope I didn't just dox him. I don't think that's a thing, but
yeah, maybe he was undercover.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, so we've got a little like I think we have a fun back and forth, him and I, because we've seen each other at a couple events. So that's cool. And I feel kind of cool because actually he was playing Luminath and has a beautiful Luminath army for the past like 10 years. And after the boys, he is like, I'm making a new army now. Like it's time to I gotta change it up. I gotta like up my game kind of thing. So that's really cool to either inspire people or get some motivation behind people.
I first met Marty at Golden Sprue, and I just heard him talking. He was like, I painted this with like car paint because it reflects a certain way or something. I was like, this is beyond me. I will never get here. It was just like a moment of like, okay, this is a lot. I don't get it, which is actually, I want to like real quick for the audience that'll watch this is like, I'm kind of clueless with ITC. So like, I'm curious, like Korey and Jeremy, and even Cameron, can y'all like break down like where's that come from? Like ITC is that best? That's not Best Coast pairings. That's like like a governing body that fill in the blanks kind of thing.
Yeah, so the ITC was created by Frontline Gaming maybe about like a decade or so ago. It was like during the time where like GW kind of stepped back from being involved in events, so they wanted to create like a standardized tournament format that was independent, right? So independent tournament circuit is what ITC stands for. And then kind of
was that Reese and Kicker? Was that like
Reese and Frankie are the two that created it, and a bunch of other people too along the way, right? Obviously now like Kicker's involved and a bunch of other people, but yeah, so then they built up the ITC. People wanted to play competitive events and wanted a standardized format, so they kind of really clinged onto that. And then Best Coast pairings is kind of the software they use that enables their like ranking system and tournament reporting, right? So they're not the same, but they're related in the sense that like they're probably like the biggest user of Best Coast pairings.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, thanks for walking that back. I just I know this kind of inherently just from being around it, but I don't know it. No, like I'm not heard that version of it. So that makes sense.
I mean, thankfully they have a maxed, like each person can only like submit a max number of scores, which is I think fine. Like obviously it seems like a no-brainer, but if you remember back when GW tried to do this, I forget what they called it, but they had like a circuit program for all their systems, Lord of the Rings, Warhammer, and 40K. And when they first rolled it out, it was just taking all of your events. So like basically if you just traveled to more events than someone else, you would just win.
Yeah.
That was a super, super lame system.
So they can measure quality in this case. So they're
you're spending your top scores basically.
And they put more emphasis, and you probably already said this, but they put more emphasis on like the larger events that are harder to win in essence.
You just get more points. Yeah.
Dave says we are all competitive Lord of the Rings players now. Sure. I'm fine with that. Honestly, as long as it, I'm not even gonna say what I'm gonna say. It's already.
I mean, it's certainly not Legion. Is what you're gonna say.
It's not Legion. Go away, Legion. Also, John said "Age of Sagmar," which I'm obsessed with now because that's just a hilarious way to say it. So.
Put it on a shirt.
Yeah, just actually, yes. Next shirt, Age of Sagmar.
Right. Right. One of the things I want to touch upon that Jeremy, you said kind of towards the end of your bit now was like the like other like trolling on other East Coast painters, but like it's been very interesting. Like we have a couple people like yourself, another good painter, Dave, who's in the chat right now. Like it's been crazy how like having you two involved in the club has really like I felt personally like pushed my aspirations to paint better. Not that I paint a lot, but I feel like when I am painting, I'm trying to like really go all out. And
Awesome.
I don't think I would have done that if I didn't have like people like you, right? To be like, hey, what do you think about maybe doing XYZ, or like, how do I do this technique, right? And like, you've been super helpful. So definitely a big shout out to you for that. It's cool just seeing everyone else also in the club try to elevate their. I know.
Jacob took the words right out of my mouth. I was like,
Yeah.
is everyone ready for Korey's finger paint 101?
Well, I mean,
Like,
before I was shooting for the ITC solo thing, like originally when I first joined the club, I looked at the club rankings. I was like, well, we have a bunch of people, and if we just get a bunch of scores logged, then we can shoot for best club. I know hobby is just like, who cares sometimes, but we were kind of like in the same position all year with the like battle scores, battle rankings.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, well, we could probably push and get hobby, which was pretty neat. And like you said, it kind of like I converted Bob over to display board meta.
Mm-hmm.
I think Cam.
What is display board meta?
And it's something that I think is really cool, and I'm probably most proud of that compared to just the ITC award. So
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we'll post somewhere after this like your display board, which is otherworldly and out of control. And for some reason I couldn't find a photo in my Lightroom about it, but but yeah, like what it is, you said display board meta.
yeah,
straight. I love that.
So we had back in when I was playing Lord of the Rings in the Midwest, we had a like saying, we basically called it a FUBAD, and it was like freakishly obnoxiously big display boards or something. So we basically showed up with like the 2x4 huge like monstrosities, and that was it was fun. But yeah, I agree with Jacob Berry is that it is frustrating. I harassed every single TO for an entire year of the events I went to submit their ITC points correctly. And it's not on them. I think it's just their system they're probably the interface is just not really.
What does that mean? It's poorly. That doesn't make sense to me. So they're just not reporting like the intricate parts of it.
I could
yeah,
field that
Korey
question.
Can jump in. He was one of the TOs I know.
So when you report a tournament in Best Coast pairings, you request a token from the circuit, and to do that, you just do it once you have to do it twice essentially. So it's a completely second motion that a lot of people don't know about unless you are being asked by players, and then you are like fortunate enough to be able to get contacts with like the people that own and run BCP. Like they kind of really walk you through it, but there's not a lot of like, how do you say it? Like there's not a lot of enablement out there for like just a TO be like, okay, I'm a brand new TO, what do I need to know, right? Like that's like something that I think like BCP/ITC can do better. Like they should have just like a one pager, right? Maybe depending on the size of the event, right? RTT 1 page, here's what you need to do. GT majors, right? Like more and more information, but that just doesn't exist that I'm aware of. It might exist, but yeah, so it's just something that like people think like, okay, I put my paint score in, I put the token in for the reporting, we're all good to go. But no, you need a separate token to report it to the hobby track.
Yeah, otherwise it just submits your 100 player base all gets the same paint score with no ranking. So
Gotcha. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Which honestly, if all the events in ITC had submitted correctly, I think it would have been a totally wild, final standing. It would have been totally shaken up. So
yeah, exactly. Because there's like a lot of like people, like clubs that are like, like 10 of you, right? Essentially.
Yeah, exactly.
And they just their events, right? For specifically, right, Midwest events, right? Talk about like people who are like cracked out of their mind at painting, and they just get no recognition because they don't want to deal with anything.
yeah, I'm sure that's another whole other topic of like Midwest events, maybe not using ITC. But so
Nice.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Cool. Tell us about your Legion painting, Cameron. How's that going?
Large quantities of it.
What's your latest?
I painted a bunch of Wookiees up last night.
Yeah.
Because Sam's a Wookiee master.
Does that fit? Can you proxy models into an Age of Sigmar? Can you have a Chewbacca based counts as
Yeah,
the
best,
army?
like, I think you could probably make it like an Ewok or a Jawa army and like say they're squigs or grots. Actually, Jawas and grots would probably work just fine.
Just Jawa army, which actually reminds. Oh, sorry to cut you off, Cam. And also your microphone's kind of cutting up a little bit, Cameron.
You are a robot.
But that just reminds me of like Jeremy. The first time I met, like actually I think I had met you before that, but the like first like time we hung out a bit was at Adepticon. And so for anybody who doesn't know this, like Jeremy tends this again. I could summarize this wrong, so correct me if I am wrong. But like you get a count as army, based on like a 1936.
Oh yeah, this army. Yeah,
1976.
It was a Soulblight army, and it was all based on the 1960. I don't know what the movie was. Bedknobs and Broomsticks. When Angela Lansbury, R.I.P. Resurrected, or like turns a bunch of suits of armor into, ghosts basically to fight off Nazis who are invading England, obviously in the classic. So I basically had a bunch of grave garden skeletons as using historical miniatures for that. And I had like her on a broom, and a bunch of other, things from the movie that were there. And the reason is that because I used that army also in the bolt action tournament I went to at Adepticon. So if you've ever traveled with an army, you know how pain of an ass it is to go on an airplane with troops. So basically I could get the entire army into a tiny bag for the airplane for 2 events. So
that makes total sense. Yeah, it was the first, because as I don't know, maybe I annoyingly say this a lot, but I'm relatively new to all this, and it was the first time I got to the board, and I was like, that's not an army I recognize. Like, what does that do? And I think we ended up playing Ironweld later on, and I remember like it was like a really drawn out game, and I think I was just learning Ideneth or something like that. And you had like Lady Oleander on a broom that like definitely wasn't like the Lady Oleander I was used to.
Yeah.
And I remember being like it was really like, it was like a mix of like, oh, I still have to like remember what the hell this character is, but I'm really intrigued by the fact that I don't like that everything is so different. Like everything just is not anywhere like, and I love that after like it was like a little bit like of a like quick take of like, oh shit, like I might like misstep here because I don't remember that does that. But
yeah, I mean that's
totally down for it. Like it's like pain that you kind of like and all of it.
I guess given my like records in tournaments, I'll take all the help I can get. But it's definitely not meant to throw people off. It's meant to be
rolling for advantage.
Yeah, rolling for advantage. Sure. All my stuff is basically counts as like every army I do.
No, and that's great. Like, there's no like again, it's like one of those just mind trips of like, oh, like I need to like rethink this, and it freshens it like it's like adds like a new fresh edge to the game, which I love about it. So anyway,
yeah, it's not like I don't like all the GW miniatures. Just they're, I need to do something unique. Otherwise, I get bored. So
yeah. I'm struggling with that with my Gits army that I bought from Brad right now because like it's painted very traditional. Well, it's not traditional. It's like definitely like Brad painted the hell out of it and looks magnificent. But I'm like adding characters to it and I'm doing it in the GW style. And I don't like. I'm like, cool, okay. Like I painted a Gavo to look like a Gavo. Like, but like it's like, oh man, I wish I could just like make.
You know what you should do?
Else,
you should just paint all your squig like a flesh tone and cover them in like Uhu glue and like a gloss varnish, so they just look like they're
No,
like slimy, fleshy balls.
no.
God.
Green
think
stuff
that's-
over their eyes too, so they have no eye. It just make it really fucking horror.
Oh, like they're like in the cave systems forever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
You can also
Probably
just like
do that.
you can just add a bunch of crazy basing stuff to it, get some like neon purple gamer's grass, and just make all the bases super unique to make it.
That's my jam personally is like 3D like base stuff. Like painting, I don't know. I'm just not good at it, and it's difficult, and it's 2D surface or whatever. 36 testicles. Oh God. Sorry, Dave. Good comment. But the yeah, like I don't know if you saw my like Idoneth turtle. Like I put like a little swimmer guy in there. Like
Yeah, your KO is all Christmas.
Yeah. So whenever I do my stuff, like I think Brad also does a lot of like base stuff, and you obviously do too. Like I just enjoyed that 3D aspect of it. I think the painting is like I'm not there yet. So
What's the thing that you can?
more the paint guy.
As Korey said earlier, like find what you enjoy and then just lean into that.
Yeah.
And cool, if your painting's not like, you got really cool bases and it's gonna make the model stand out. So
You should make like fishermen, and you should make your squigs like what's the fish, the light?
The lure light. Yeah.
yeah.
Yes. Just in just like a little bit of time here, just keeping everyone's like conscious of time. I did really want to quickly delve into Lonestar. We might not. You've got like. Do you have to kind of hard cut off at 9-ish?
No, I'm good.
Okay, cool. So for anybody who doesn't know this, Jeremy also has a knack for developing very intricate stats ahead of time of tournaments. He's like a stats hammer professional. I don't think we have that in front of us. Do we?
I've got it on my end.
Yeah, so I wonder if we share that. But basically, for anybody going to Lone Star or anybody like watching after, you basically, what do? You basically grab the list, you throw it in a sheet and see what's meta, right?
Yeah, I mean, sort of. So it starts out with like when they released the list on BCP, before I did this, I found myself just sitting there and clicking on every list and then, putting my phone down and then going back to it when I think of something and trying to find that list again. And it was just a hot mess because it stems from my like A-type brain paranoia of just wanting to know everything that I can. So then actually I'm just going to compile it all because then I can just always cross-reference it that way. And then I was like, cool, other people might be interested. So it's just the name, the alliance faction, sub-factions, grand strats, and then I type out little like quick blurbs of what the army is that like sometimes, again, when I'm not familiar with army lists, I type up little like personal notes and it's like the exact raw idea that the army list is going for sometimes. Like the first time I saw the Flayer list that Cam runs, I typed it up as like, oh man, they're going for a crazy bravery range attack army.
Yeah.
Like, no, that's not what Flayers do.
Yeah. That will kill one thing. Because this bravery shooting sucks. Sometimes, I guess. But yeah.
Bravery shooting into death armies is not great.
Yeah, there we go. So this is the list for Lone Star folks. It's $500 on eBay if you want it. We're gonna get Jeremy rich by the end of the week. Everybody from Lone Star should buy it. But yeah, I love this. I think it's amazing. I think we should do this as a team for like all of our big tournaments and really sit down on a discussion one day and figure out all this stuff.
I don't buy
Jeremy, the chat wants to know what your favorite pastry is.
Subscription. It's got to be donuts, like hands down, like a blueberry donut.
Nice. Oh, that's a good choice.
Yeah, the Dunks one is pretty good, I'll be honest.
So what was like the takeaway looking at this? Like,
so
if you could sum it up in 3 sentences.
I don't know if this is like smooth. I'm gonna like call out Texas now, like smooth brain Texas, but there's almost 35% of the field is destruction, counting slaves of armies. So it's like 40 out of the 112 is for slaves of darkness, which is basically destruction, given their violence levels. And there's some weird stuff, like there's only Doc in attendance. There's no Corn. There's no Big Wah. Order was Stormcast is still probably the most popular. I think that's because people just have it. And then pretty much the 1-2 drop meta is back, if you didn't already know that. So
Yep.
I would have expected any
almost 50% of it was 1 or 2 drops. And that when you read the GHB, you kind of knew that was going to be the case.
Nice. Yeah,
0 sharp.
Yeah, that's like the worst. But like, I want to know who wrote that battalion. It was just like everyone's gonna take this. Just like, why would I want to be 3 drops as a shooting army?
Yeah. There's that. I think there's a lot of people the Galatian champion battalion. I think that's a trap. Like for example, all the Iron Jaws players, for the most part, have their mega boss with some brutes into the champions battalion, and I think it's just less scary than if they went full pigs, like a classic, Bloodtooth situation, because those slow guys are and it's but
we lost Jeremy.
We lost Jeremy.
Oh no!
I
He
think
was
it's-
hanging out there on our side. And oh no. But yeah. Is your mic check on Cameron really quick? We can hear you, right? There you go. We got
there you
that.
go. He's
I
back.
think that I would have expected the Texas
Nope,
just
maybe we didn't get you back.
the gun.
No. Well, I think we're burning and crashing right now.
We're just gonna clip this part of the video and then put this on YouTube Shorts. So you should, it should just have like the title, like "Watch the latest and greatest show ever," and it's just like a dumpster fire of falling apart at the end.
Yeah,
I think you got to add Jeremy back in, Korey. He's
I did. Yeah, he's back in, but his camera and mic aren't working. So,
cool. We can kind of
probably wrap it up
today. So, yep. Cool. Well, chat. Thanks for joining us. Type some more stuff. Going after. I've noticed like all the comments show up like 3 days later on the live videos, which is obnoxious.
Well, those are like the comments on the actual thing.
The actual thing.
But
yeah, thanks for joining us. For the I forgot to say this in the early thing, but I added the line purposefully obnoxiously early morning show for everyone's delight. So happy Friday, everybody. Get a game in or treat your friends and family that don't play troll games well. Happy February 17th, 18th, 19th, all that stuff. So like and subscribe. Check out the Ironweld link.
Link in the video description.
Obviously. If you haven't settled up for the summer camp, do that. Love it. Send Cameron suspicious DMs. I think that's kind of the last little principal point there.
Slide into his DMs.
Slide into his DMs. Ask him about the latest blood rituals. So Do Good Bakery, I believe is the name of Jeremy's bakery, and I'm gonna probably mess that up, but delicious treats, delicious snacks. Find him on the internet. And we'll plug at the early episode next week, like if he has like any social accounts for like pictures and stuff. So we'll just make sure to write a note about that. Cool. All right. Thanks everybody.